Welcome back to another week of Instigating with Clarkey and Drury, brought to you by our friends at Larry Hudson's Chevrolet Buick GMC here in Listowel on the Listowel Squash Courts. I'm Ryan Drury. Clarkey will jump on the show later with our friend Sean Fitzgerald of The Athletic. We're going to chat NHL playoffs with him, but first, very pleased to welcome on a good friend, one of the best guys in the OHL, and the color voice, longtime color voice, I should say now. You've been doing this for a while, Poper. Chris Pope of the Kitchener Rangers broadcast on City 570. Poper, how are you, my friend?
I'm well. You just called me a good guy, so now everything you say on this podcast, nobody's going to believe you. Well, but I do appreciate the kind words.
That's too bad. I mean, maybe that's from people that haven't hung out with you, all right? You know, we spent enough time in a media room together. I know what you're all about, man. All right, come on.
I appreciate that. And anybody who has worked up in Wingham in the past, I feel it's a good guy status. So I feel like I at least get a little bit of a good guy status just because I did come from up in the Wingham area.
Yeah, it seems that way. Yeah, there's something about us, something in the water up there. I don't know what it is. Absolutely. Listen, man, the OHL playoffs well underway. Obviously, we're through the first round. Your Kitchener Rangers got through the first round quicker than most in a very historic sweep. The first 8 seed to ever sweep a 1 seed. Pretty incredible stuff. And there's great matchups. There were in the first round, of course. My Guelph Storm out to that very tough Sarnia team. There's going to be great matchups in the second round, of course. But I think the one that sticks out, and the reason we had to have you on, is that classic battle, that heated rivalry between not only the teams, but the cities and the fan bases. The Kitchener Rangers are going to play the London Knights again, and this time it's in the second round. Last year, as a 7 seed, they beat the Knights in 7 games. This year, the 8 seed, they're going to play them London once again, the 2 seed, but this time it's in the second round for a ticket to go to the Western Conference Final. I can't find better words for this. I think that this series, Poper, might be a bloodbath. What are your thoughts?
I think it's going to be the series everybody's keeping an eye on, and not only because it's London Kitchener, not only because it's Rangers Knights, but when you look back to last year, there are still a lot of players on that London Knights team that are, quite frankly, a little upset. I'll put it that way. I don't know what we're allowed to say on this broadcast, so I'll say it like that. You look at a guy like Sean McGurn, Logan Mailloux, Connor Federcal, Brett Brochu, et cetera, guys that felt what they felt last year and don't want to feel it again. They thought last year was bad. As a 7 seed, the Rangers upsetting London in 7 games in the opening round. What would happen? What would the talk around London be if the Rangers did it yet again as an 8 seed? And keep in mind, this is a franchise in the Knights, excuse me, that has long dominated the Rangers. Let's call it what it is. They've been the Rangers' poppy, if you will. And for Kitchener to come out last year and do what they did, if they can somehow manage to do it again, I think there would be a lot of talk about it, and I think the Rangers are built to do it again because they're not a typical 8 seed.
That's the point that I kind of want to jump off of, Poper, is that they really aren't. I don't know how many times on our broadcast at Sleeman Center and just probably around the league, really, that people in intermissions were going, how is this Kitchener Rangers team scrambling for 7th, 8th, 9th at one point out of the playoffs for a week and a half, back up into 8th? Like, we were all sitting there going, look at the talent on this roster. Why on earth are they scraping just to get into the playoffs? But you know the old adage. You would know this. I mean, I know you're a Red Wings fan. You would know this. It doesn't matter what you do in November. It's how you dance when you get into the dance. And that was a pretty sweet little salsa number that they danced on the Windsor Spitfires in round 1. And I think that it may seem almost extreme or preposterous to say, Poper, but I actually think that with this roster being probably, I don't know your opinion, I think it might be the most talented 8 seed I've ever seen in the OHL. I think they have a better chance to knock the Knights off this year than I gave them last year.
Yeah, and I completely agree with you. They're the best 8 seed I've ever seen. They're not an 8 seed. No matter who got Kitchener in that opening round, it was going to be a second round matchup because let's call a spade a spade. I'm all for transparency and honesty. Windsor, London, Sarnia, Kitch. Those were your top teams in the Western Conference this year. The Rangers got off to a horrible start and a rough 2/3 to start the year and really found their own in the last third under Mike McKenzie. I don't think Chris Dennis was to blame necessarily for the way the Rangers were playing and the results they were getting, but the change to McKenzie and a few tinkers that Mike has brought in, and we can get to that if you want, but a few of the tinkers that he has brought in has allowed this team to flourish and play the way that we all expected them to play. That first round matchup, whoever got Kitchener, it was a second round matchup. And it was none more apparent than Dale Hunter in game 68. Game 66, Windsor beat London to secure top spot in the Western Conference. Game 67, a rematch, Windsor and London. Dale Hunter rested some of his players. A lot of coaches do that down the stretch. But then game 68 against Kitchener in London, those players are back in the lineup. Now, why would you rest players on game 67 and not 68? Because if Kitchener won that game against London, it would have secured 7th spot for the Rangers, which would have meant a first-round matchup with the London Knights, 7-2, like that happened last year. Dale didn't want that. So he dressed his players. Kitchener sat their players because they didn't care who they played in round one. That's what they've been saying for months. We don't care. We just want to be playing the right way. So London dresses their players for 68 to make sure Kitchener can't win, to give Owen Sound a shot at 7th. Owen Sound wins that game against Flint on home ice. And all of a sudden, Kitchener slides down to 8th spot to face Windsor. And we now see why Dale Hunter did that and didn't want to face the Rangers in the opening round, because nobody wants an opening round like that. Windsor could have been into the second round, with all due respect to Owen Sound. Everybody would have bet on Windsor. Windsor probably would have won that series. We saw what London did to them. But Windsor gets swept by the 8th seed Rangers, and now London's going, well, we knew we were going to have to play them eventually. And it's a second round matchup. And after that first round, Ryan, I've said it publicly, and it's not being a homer. I'm not a homer. I will call this team out when they're bad. I have no problem doing it, much to the ire of a lot of Rangers fans. But this is a team that if they're playing the way that they played in those 4 games against Windsor, nobody's touching them. I'm sorry, but they're not. Mike McKenzie has this team in an uber-talented hockey club playing a full 200-foot game, and every guy was going. There was not a game where, with all due respect to Windsor, there wasn't a game in the series that was close. Kitchener dominated from opening puck drop to the final whistle in game 4. It's just a matter of if this Rangers team can continue to play that way for another month and a half. And it's really up to them. But you know what? We heard it around the league in the final month and a half. Regardless of, and everybody would say it to us because, I don't know, that's who they wanted to talk to. It was, no matter where this team finishes, nobody wants to see them in the playoffs because this is what they're built for. And I think that was the message going into the opening round is, listen, the previous 68 don't matter. Nobody's going to remember where you finished if you go out and make noise in the postseason. When you're in the OHL final, nobody's going to call you an 8 seed. They're going to call you the Western Conference champions. It's up to you whether you want to, what you want to do. You want to keep playing the way you've been playing? You might win a couple games. You might win a round. Who knows? But if you guys actually want to make some noise here, this is what you're going to do, and this is how we're going to do it. And they completely bought in. It was some of the most complete hockey I've ever seen a team play.
It is bizarre, right? Because you look at it and you wonder, like, why couldn't they have done that earlier? And yes, that is no respect to Chris Dennis and everything that he was trying to do with this roster. It is interesting to me that, you know, again, he's had to do it a number of times during his career there, where Mike McKenzie, you know, goes behind the bench and seems to just find an extra gear that was apparently to everyone else missing with a roster. He's done it a number of times now. He's had to do it again. I wonder what your thoughts are on this, and I like that point you just made. No one cares about the regular season if you do all your damage when it counts. No one remembers October to December of the 2019 St. Louis Blues. No one cares. Who cares? They won the Stanley Cup. I would liken this team, because they're an 8 seed and because I see so many similarities. Remember that 2012 Kings team? Like, they sneak in as an 8 seed and they just stomped their way to a cup final. Now, I'm not saying the Rangers are going to do that, but I think everybody in the NHL that year looked at that Kings roster and said, there's no way these guys are an 8 seed. They couldn't score goals. They had trouble doing this, that, and the other. Then they got in the playoffs and it all came together. You've got that veteran goalie. Constantini was lights out good against Windsor. He was lights out good down the stretch. You brought up earlier, Mike McKenzie taking over the bench again and making some tweaks. What did he do specifically, in your opinion, that you guys noticed, you and Mike Farwell, that spurred this great play on?
First off, Marco Costantini has been nothing but an absolute stud in the playoffs his entire OHL career.
Yes.
His OHL numbers are absolute lunacy. He's played 23 games. He has 4 shutouts. So he's basically getting you a shutout in every series. So he's stealing you 1 game. In 23 games, he has 20 wins.
That just makes no sense.
Because I just want that to sit in. 20.
Yeah, let it breathe.
Games. Yeah, that wasn't. I didn't misspeak. He has a goals against of 220 and a save percentage of 921 in the postseason. And yes, we know Hamilton was built really well last year, and the Rangers are built really well this year. But still, for a goaltender to play 23 playoff games, and his only 3 losses were against the Windsor Spitfires in the OHL final last year when they went 7 games. Absolute bananas for Marco Costantini. Going to the McKenzie question, there were many things he did, but the biggest thing, Ryan, is I feel when Chris Dennis came to the OHL, it's a lot easier for an OHL coach to go to the NHL than it is for an NHL coach to come to the OHL. There's far more mistakes at this level than there is at the NHL, and it's not quite as structured. And if you try to implement that structure into the junior game, quite frankly, it's not very fun. And when you're not having fun playing, especially as a teenager, it's pretty tough to get them to do things that you want them to do. Because if you're not having fun in the offensive zone and you're telling them, hey, I want you to track back and I want you to get on your course and back check, probably not going to be really going 100%, maybe giving you a good 60. And I think that was the biggest thing under Chris Dennis. Mike McKenzie came in and he built the lineup. He knows he's got Clydesdales up front. And when you have Clydesdales, you take the leash off. And he took the leash off. He said, offensive zone, do whatever you guys want. It's up to you. I don't care. You guys know better than me. Defensively, though, this is what you're going to do. And this is what we need to do as a team to play better team defense. And offensively, when you have the creative freedom that Mike McKenzie has given you, when the team has players like Pinelli, Machar, Curry, Jolkin, Martin, I'm sure I'm missing 1 or 2 up front. Rakoff. Yeah, it allows these guys to have a little creative freedom, and it's fun offensively. And as soon as he came in, I asked him a question post-game, and I kind of laughed saying it. I'm like, I don't want this to come across the wrong way, but there's no structure in the offensive zone. Is that something you were looking for? And he said, the structure is chaos, and it's hard to defend chaos. He said last year with the team that we had, we wouldn't have been able to play that way. And he's right, because they didn't have the high-end talent that they do this year. But you have guys like you mentioned, Carson Rakoff, a guy that will probably go in the top 40, 50 picks this year in the NHL draft, and he's your third-line center. That's a great depth centerman to have on your third line. And then you look at your fourth line, and you got 2 big guys on your wing with a speedy, skilled guy in the center, and Adrian Misseljevic, a guy that's put in 2 playoff goals already. He missed 19 games, came back, and in his 9 games in the regular season since coming back, he buried 3 goals. He only had 4 all year. So he's come back and found a way on that fourth line to add offense. And I find in the playoffs, Ryan, a lot of times the top 6 tend to equal each other out a little bit, with the exception of maybe 1 or 2. And it's the depth guys that you need to score to win hockey games. And twice, I think, in the 4-game series against Windsor, they had a goal from every line. And when you're getting offense from every single line, that is a real tough team to beat. And you look at the defense, you got Hunter Brustevich, who's again going to go in the top 40, 50 picks in the NHL draft. He's been an absolute stud. Leighton Moore flying around out there like a bee. You never know where he is, but he just always is in place. It's crazy. Roman Schmidt playing a lot more physical. Matt Andonovski and Simon Motu turning themselves into quite the shutdown pair, both plus 20 by the end of the year. Everything is going right now for the Rangers under Mike McKenzie. And I said to him after, I think it was after game 3 or game 4, I was walking downstairs, and I don't think he'd mind me saying it, but I was walking downstairs and he was waiting to do an interview. And I said, Mac, I know you don't like this coaching thing, but yeah, it seems to be working, buddy.
Yeah, it's odd because like he's been known, numerous times to say he would prefer to focus on doing the GM stuff. It seems to be the thing he's maybe a little more passionate about, but it's kind of odd. Like he goes back there and just kind of gets results, and you kind of want to hold him back there and be like, why don't you just maybe stay there? But yeah, it's a tough thing to ask. I know the goal, in the off season last year was to spend more time with his family, be a little more free and able to kind of handle scouting stuff. But hey, listen, when the playoffs roll around, the results are the results, and they're getting them. I want to ask you as well, obviously it's going to be a couple games before he's able to come back, but Francesco Pinelli, I compared this team to those 2012 Kings. Funnily enough, he's a Kings prospect, and maybe he's the Kopitar of this team. I don't know. I think he's I think he's an underrated player in the CHL, and we all know that he's got great offensive instincts, and I think he plays really well in his own zone too. He doesn't get a lot of credit for that a lot of the time, I feel. How big of a challenge will it be to not have him to start this series against London, who are a team this year? They're not exactly built around big scoring superstars. They didn't have very many guys way up on the scoring list, but they've got a bunch of depth throughout the lineup and good defensive players. How big of a challenge do you feel it will be to not have Pinelli there to start?
If you had asked me before the playoffs, my answer would be completely different than my answer is going to be right now. And my answer right now is it'll be a challenge, but it won't be too big of a challenge. Anytime you lose your best player, it's a challenge. But if you look back to that series against Windsor, Pinelli was ejected in game 3, 2 minutes and 20 seconds into the first period. So they basically won 2 games against Windsor without their captain. And listen, I think London is a great team. They're much better defensively than the Windsor Spitfires are. Much better. But they don't have the offense that Windsor did. And that was Kitchener's key to success in the first round, was their team defense. They're tracking back and making life extremely difficult for the Windsor Spitfires' high-end offense. Keep in mind, they were the only team in the OHL this year that scored over 300 goals. They scored 320 goals this regular season, which is an astronomical amount. The Rangers held them to 7 goals in 4 games. It's the fewest goals in a 4-game stretch for the Windsor Spitfires all season. And Shane Wright's getting a lot of heat.
He is.
He doesn't deserve it. I love these keyboard warriors that sit at home and give him heat without actually watching the game. Shane Wright is not going to be a Connor Bedard. Shane Wright is not going to be a Connor McDavid. Shane Wright has the skill set and the ability to be the next Patrice Bergeron.
Right.
That's the kind of player he is. He's not going to splash the score sheet every single night, putting up 4 or 5. He's going to take his 30 draws a game, go 50 to 60%. He might get you a goal or 2, but he's going to make 2 defensive plays that help you win the game. Like, that's why he was taken 4th. It's not his points. His offense is there. He's going to get points. He can shoot the puck like few I've ever seen. He's very good in every zone on the ice. I feel like he almost got the John Tavares treatment in the OHL. I know I'm going on a tangent here, but he kind of got the John Tavares treatment where when JT was in the league, he came in as an exceptional player as well. And everybody ranting and raving, look at this kid, look at this kid. Second year, it was like, oh, wow, he's so good. Third year, it was like, well, he could increase this or he could improve this. And then you pick something else up. And it was like, guys, we're just nitpicking here. This kid is special. Can we not just watch and appreciate him? And I think that's what we're doing with Shane Wright right now, especially after he fell to 4th.
Do you think the reason why is because fans of this league in particular are so used to seeing eye-popping offensive numbers? Like you said, the structure of the NHL is not there. You don't see a lot of 2-1s. You see a lot of 5-4s. And I'm glad you compared him to Tavares, because him and Wright think the game at such a high level and focus on doing those little things throughout 60 minutes that add up to a victory. That, look, I'm not an expert, but I'll just say average fans aren't able to pick out and process and go, that stick lift right there was a big important play. Do you think that those two guys in particular, and with Wright right now, think the game at such a high level already that people misjudge their ability?
Yes, but I also think it has something to do with people like that guy over your right shoulder, who him and his, well, it's true. Like Crosby comes in the league first overall, stud. Ovi comes in the league, stud. We get all these guys, McDavid, Kane. We get these guys who come in as first overall picks and are absolute studs coming into the league. So you kind of get spoiled and you get accustomed to that. And then because the draft is such a talked about thing in our country and in the game, everybody just gets hyped up on these players. And then when they don't match an Alex Ovechkin or a Sidney Crosby or a Connor McDavid, I'm talking about generational and maybe even all-time talents. We can't put that expectation on every kid that goes first overall or in the top 5. Sometimes they're just a good hockey player. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like Shane Wright's going to have a 15-year career in the NHL, I think, and put up some pretty good numbers, probably might win a cup, probably goes into the rafters somewhere if he wants. Like, it's a good career. You don't need to break Gretzky's goal-scoring record to be a proper number one. I think we just get a little spoiled. But I went on a bit of tangent there. I'll go back. You had asked me about the London team, and I think that they're much better than Windsor defensively, and that was Kitchener's key in the first round, was playing defensively. So I'm curious. London has a lot of depth, and I was talking with Mike Stubbs earlier, and he said, when was the last time a team won the division without a 30 or 40 goal scorer? And I don't think the Knights have a 30 or 40 goal scorer on their roster this year. It might be 40, might be 30. I should have done more research before this, and I apologize. But they don't have that big scorer like you talked about that's going to be up near the top. They just have a bunch of guys right in the middle. And the guy that I'm circling in this series is going to be George Diaco. That guy, it seems like, when it's not the amount of goals he gets, it's when he gets them. And that is so important in the playoffs. And he's shown he can do it in years past with Hamilton winning the championship last year. But it's almost like that. When you need a goal, George Diaco is going to get you one. But I'm curious to see how London's offense can try to generate offense if Kitchener is going to play the same defensive game that they played against Windsor. Now, Mike McKenzie's in tough. I'm not going to lie to you. He's going up against the best coach junior hockey has ever seen. With all due respect to Brian Kilrea, Dale Hunter is going to break Brian Kilrea's record if Dale Hunter wants to. And I think he does. Have you met him? He tends to be a little competitive.
I think Dale, that's an accurate description of Mr. Hunter. Yes.
Put it mildly. He likes to win. And the only reason people don't like him is because they're jealous. Like, it is what it is. He's built an absolute dynasty, 23 straight years of playoffs. In those 23 years of playoffs, Ryan, twice they have finished without home ice advantage. And
unreal.
Once was fifth.
It's incredible.
What? That's not... This league is so cyclical. You're up and down all the time, and he just finds a way to get it done. It's so impressive. And I know people don't like him, and that's all fine and dandy. He's matured a lot since he first came into the league, but I'm just a really big fan in every asset of sport of being around greatness and seeing greatness. That's why I've been rooting for the last 5 years or so for your buddy Ovi to break that record, because I like seeing greatness. I love to see greatness. And watching what Dale's been doing, and I'm very interested to see how Dale coaches his team based on the video he's seen in 4 games against Windsor, because the Rangers have not played one game this season like they did in the 4 against Windsor. Not one.
Yeah.
So it's a total different team, and I'm interested to see the coaching battle.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Dale, you can say what you want about him. I mean, we are talking about a guy that, they drafted Mitch Marner 20th. I mean, like, come on here. No one else wanted to take a crack at that guy, just among the myriad of examples of guys that he's found that others couldn't. Yeah, it's going to be a great series. I can't wait for it. I'm probably going to be in attendance for a couple of the games, Poper. I'll wave to you from the bottom of the rink. But I want to ask you one last thing too, and it's kind of tied to the Pinelli thing. You and I have talked about this a little bit. Can the league not let us know when guys are suspended? Can we? I know there are people out there that believe the league's doing a great job of communicating every little aspect, but they just aren't. Come on, we gotta let people know what's up. When a star player especially is going to miss a significant amount of time, it'd be nice to just know how much time that is without having to digging through, a bunch of different avenues. You can find it on the website buried in the media notes. But is it not time to maybe find a better way to communicate with fans that are used to communicating instantaneously nowadays?
You really want to get me and Terry Doyle going, don't you?
No. You said that, not me.
I know. For anybody who's curious, @_Chris Pope on Twitter. Real quick on the Pinelli thing, I just want to go back because I went on a tangent and forgot where I was going. My brain tends to work like that. It's going to be tough for the Rangers, but Pinelli needs to keep his head on straight. Calling a spade, going back to that suspension, he just has to be better. He doesn't need to make that move. I know the player came out of the bench. I think there was a bit of a lean just trying to nudge him. It hit him in the head, principal contact. I'm all for a suspension. Give him one. They're saying it's because he's a repeat offender. He gets 3. We've always been told playoff suspensions are half of what the regular season would be. So you're telling me that's a 6-game suspension? That's a bit much. Anyway, moving on to the topic that you just asked me about. Yes, I listen, I'm going to start this off because Terry came at me and asked me, if the league is so bad, why are you covering it? I never once said the league was bad. I have been a huge proponent for this league. I can count on one hand how many NHL games in the regular season I've watched in the last 5 years. I am a much bigger fan of the OHL game than the NHL game. And a lot of it goes back to what I talked about earlier. Far too much structure in the NHL game for my liking. It's so well coached and so well managed that it's not as exciting as the OHL. A 6-2 game with 5 minutes left in the NHL is done. A 6-2 game with 5 minutes left in the OHL, there's probably going to be at least 3 or 4 more goals scored here. You never know in the OHL. No lead is safe, and I really like that. But when it comes to the management of the league, I think they've done a disservice to their fans. And I don't know why that is. And I know that as broadcasters, we can be a little, why don't you do this for me? Why don't I have this? Why don't I have that? You know what? It's the OHL. Sometimes you don't have everything you need. I get that. But in the playoffs, in the first round, in the first week, you suspended 3 captains. And you didn't send anything out about it. And it comes down to the fact that this league is so worried about NCAA and other travels to the NHL that they don't want to put a black eye on their league. I'm sorry. But Google the Ontario Hockey League. There's enough black eyes on this league already. Suspensions isn't going to be a thing. I don't think it puts a black eye on your league to send out a tweet. Rangers forward Francesco Pinelli suspended 2 games for blindside hit in game 3. Done.
Well, it's not doing anything to the NHL's bottom line, is it? And look, at the end of the day, it's a contact sport, Poper. I actually look at it the reverse way. I actually think it would look better to outwardly communicate that you are suspending people, because that sends the message we take player safety seriously, and this guy did this infraction and we've suspended him for it. I actually think it's the complete opposite, and fans would go, yeah, he should be suspended or whatever.
It is, and I just think they look at it as where parents are then going to see that tweet and see that they suspended 3 players in the first round of their first week of their opening round series, and then think it's not a safe league for my son or daughter to go and play in, which I believe is untrue. Are some parents going to believe that? Yeah, but some parents probably don't want their kids playing body contact in Bantam or U17 or whatever it is now. I just think this league, players, it makes no sense to me for fans to show up to the rink and wonder why a player is not in the game. The amount of people that come up to us in our broadcast booth before the game or send us tweets or texts during the game or during warm-up, where's Pinelli? Where's Pinelli?
Yep.
It shouldn't fall on us. And to be quite honest, the media members who are giving your league limelight, promoting your league around the province, it shouldn't be on us, to be perfectly frank, to go on and check every hour for a day to see when they uploaded it to media notes. And not only that, you can tell that they're trying to keep the public record shy, because on their list on the site, it only shows 5. So if Francesco Pinelli was suspended in game 2, all of a sudden 3 games later, you don't even see his suspension listed anymore. There's no track record to go back and look. Has Francesco Pinelli been suspended before? You can't go back and look at it. All the draft picks that are traded around this league, some people think it's a little silly, and that, oh, look at the league. It's a travesty. They're trading 10-year-olds at this point. We've heard that talk forever. They limited the amount of draft picks you can trade recently, but you can't go back on the league site and find draft pick history. How many draft picks did the Guelph Storm have in the second round this year? Don't you think that should be public knowledge? Don't you think people should be able to see that? Wouldn't that be good for fans to get involved in the draft if they know when their team picks and how many picks? The trade deadline is the most traction this league gets every single year. Why are we not pushing that and allowing the fans and these? Listen, every team has fan podcasts, fan websites, fan blogs. Let them talk about suspect. Oh, what would you do? Would you trade Chandler Romeo for Sarnia's 3rd rounder? Like, let fans know what's going on in the league. I'm a big fan of transparency, and I don't understand why there's a lack of it sometimes with this league. And as I said in my 5 tweets that I put out, my Twitter thread, if you will, I said this isn't something new. I'm not just going on this because the Rangers captain was suspended. There was 2 other captains suspended in the OHL at the exact same time. This is something I brought up to David Branch at the start of this, or at the end of last year on a podcast. I asked him, I said, I have a suggestion for the league to make it better. Give it to me, Poper. Send a tweet. Send a news alert. Like, it's not hard to just let fans know that this player has been suspended and he's not going to be at the game. And I'm talking playoffs here. Like, I'm not bringing it up game 12 on a Tuesday night when Sudbury's in town. This is playoff hockey. And during the heat of the pandemic, we were worried that fans weren't going to come back to this league. Even when they allowed fans back into the building, rinks weren't that full. We saw it big time in Kitchener. And now that people are starting to come back, the dollar doesn't nearly go as far. We all know everything costs a heck of a lot more than it did pre-pandemic. The dollar doesn't go in far. There's more entertainment coming into every city possible right now. So people have more options to spend that dollar. We need to keep people in the OHL. If we look at the OHL fan base, the large majority of it is aging out. We need to get younger families and younger people into the game to maintain the crowds that we're seeing. And doesn't giving those young people, the younger generation who spend all their time on their phones and internets, does it not make more sense to put more of your product where they can find it?
Yeah, let's engage. Let's engage these people. I completely agree, Poper. We'll see if it ever happens, but I agree. Much like what baseball did this year, you're going to have to make some changes to engage a new demographic. And I really hope for the sake of the league they do it, because it would be a small thing to ask for, a small improvement that with the advent of technology, look, I'm hosting a show right now on my own laptop. Like, come on, let's figure this out here. We can't send a tweet. Can we get a tweet? That's all we want.
I just think, listen, my broadcast partner has, for better or worse, or good or bad, or right or wrong, led the charge on the whole 3 stars argument. How they're not done properly. Does a 3 stars of a hockey game really affect a fan? I don't think it does. Everybody has their own 3 stars. I remember wanting to stick around just to see the players come out and wave. I didn't care who
Yeah.
got them. There are a lot
course.
of people who do care. But if we're going to talk about things that are actually affecting the league and the players, I think letting people know who's in a hockey game and who's not and is probably above the 3 stars. And if we really want to start talking, ask me about the shot clocks, because those are affecting goaltenders, goals against average and save percentage every single night, and player shot total. But yet we can't get one person to do it properly in this league, and it's affecting goaltenders' futures. That's another thing that I don't think we have enough time here, Ryan. I could drive to Wingham and still be talking about it. But let's talk about things that matter, and I think shot clocks is one of them. Anyway, it's a great 100%. League. I love it. I have a lot of time for it. The best development league in the world. For my money, it's the best hockey in the world. That's why this whole country loves to watch the World Juniors. We get to do it for 68 games, and somehow, some way, some guy in an ivory office, idiot, is paying us to watch hockey. Right? What a job.
It's not bad, brother.
Oh, my goodness.
It's not bad. You can listen to the entirety of the Rangers playoff run with Chris Pope and Mike Farwell on City 570. You can find links all over Twitter. You can go to the City 570 site and listen to the games, and of course on your radio dial as well. Poper, it's a pleasure. Thanks for doing this, brother.
I really appreciate you having me, and everybody up in Perth County and Grey County and everyone else around the Wingham area, Wingham all the way up to Flesherton. I miss you guys.
Absolutely. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll be back next with Sean Fitzgerald of The Athletic here on Instigating. Welcome back to Instigating with Clarkey and Drury, brought to you once again by our great friends at Larry Hudson Chevrolet Buick GMC here in beautiful Listowel, Ontario, and of course the Listowel Squash Courts, who we will be talking about a little bit later because a great event is going down at the Listowel Squash Courts next Friday, April 21st. We'll save that for later, though. Stay tuned. Once again, thanks to our good friend Chris Pope for joining us to chat a bit about the OHL playoffs. We're now joined by our good friend, a little scheduling issue here, all right? Our buddy Sean Fitzgerald, we're going to get him on another day, but we do have our good friend, professional golfer, and of the Ian Doig Golf Academy, Ian Doig, back on. We got to recap our Masters picks. Doigy, you're still down south. How are things?
Things are good. I haven't played much golf or worked at it too much since we've been here. I've been painting the condo and that, but all good. I've had a few rounds of golf in. I actually got to play with some friends from back home, so that was cool. So yeah, it's been good.
How you hitting it?
Yeah, pretty good. It was even par the other day, one round on a very difficult golf course, and pleased with that. And my putting has come around. I really like the way my putting's working right now. So driving it well and putting it well. The irons need some work.
Doig, try a red ball next time you play and let me know how it goes.
It's not going to happen,
dude. I was going to say, send some videos to Rory maybe and help that guy out. Doigy, before we dig into the Masters picks, though, we'll review them because we have a shock winner. Not a shock winner, but I mean, it's a cool story. Tell us a little bit about, you're going to be meeting somebody pretty significant. Tell us a little bit about that.
I am. Tomorrow morning, actually, at about 11 o'clock, I'm heading over to Palm Beach Gardens on the east coast of Florida. So going back 43 years now, I was very lucky to be in the group with Jack Nicklaus during a practice round, and I was caddying for Tom Pertzer. But I parked my hip right on the side of Jack's for the whole day. We played 36 holes actually that day, and just peppered him with questions. And he was gracious enough to answer all of them, and stuff that he told me that day I still use today in my own game, and I still use it when I coach and teach. And he did some other very nice things for me throughout my early career and that. And although I had always thanked him when he did those things for me, I wanted to write a letter to him and really express what it meant to me. I would probably not have gotten into golf if it wasn't for somebody like Jack Nicklaus, because when I was 12, 13, 14 years old, he was the king of the PGA Tour. He was playing great, winning the Masters and everything in the US Open and all that. And so when I was practicing and I was making that putt on the putting green, I was competing against Jack Nicklaus. It was Ian Doig against Jack Nicklaus, in my mind. And anyway, he's been very kind to me, and a while back I wrote him a letter and just wanted to reminisce a little bit. And he wrote me back and said, Ian, next time you're in South Florida, give me a shout. Come on over and we'll have a meet and greet. So tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock, Kathleen is going to get to meet Jack Nicklaus, and I'm going to get to see my friend that I haven't seen in some time. So yeah, looking forward to it. It'll be fun.
You know, not a bad breakfast date for you there, Doigie. That's pretty darn cool.
It is pretty cool. I'll make sure I get pictures and send them.
Yes, please do.
Yeah, like I'm so looking forward to it because honestly, you guys are aware of some of my background and the trauma I went through as a youngster and stuff. And, you know, a guy like Jack Nicklaus to take the time to help me when I was a 19-year-old and again, when I was 26 and stuff like that, to take that time to help me meant a lot. And it helped me get through the stuff that I had gone through. So, it's going to be fun tomorrow. So we don't have a lot of time. We don't have a lot of time. I think we're going to get maybe 20 minutes or 25 minutes with him.
Hey,
he's a busy guy. But I will say this: not everybody can call Jack up and get a meeting with him.
Yeah, that's rarefied air for sure. Pretty good Rolodex in your phone there, buddy. That's not so bad. Let's talk about these Masters picks because I'll just get this out of the way. Like my team performed terribly. Oosthuizen withdrew. Morikawa was unsurprisingly my best player, but my team was just junk.
Can we put it up? Can we put it up?
Let's put it up. The winner of the picks is one Chuggy. Chuggy has won because we made an agreement we would all drop our worst player. Yeah. Mine obviously being Oosthuizen. DJ was her worst player. And let's keep in mind, folks, if you want to go back a couple episodes here, Chuggy made a late entry. She took the quote-unquote scraps that were left over after Doigie, Clarkey, and I made our picks.
Yeah, I'm playing under protest because I feel that she wasn't under the pressure we were under. All she did is sat back and then had a choice of players. So she had lots of time. We had to pick our guys like on the fly, right?
But look, I'm 12 I would under. Argue.
Doigie didn't make the cut. Because we had agreed 3 guys had to make the cut.
I know, and Doigie technically finished last because he had 2 guys miss the cut.
I sucked. There's no doubt I sucked.
Well, Rory sucked. You didn't play.
Rory killed you.
Rory sucked for me. Rory sucked and JT sucked for me. But you know what? The fact that Clarkey didn't win because Chuggy did, I like that.
It's even though it's a
technicality.
But I had the money winning. I had the money leader, so I should have won.
Enough.
No, you.
Okay. I see. How? Let me ask you this though. Chuggy won. Fine. How?
No. Hold on, just a sec. Not Chuggy won. Fine. Congrats, Chuggy.
Congrats,
and I would actually argue that she was under more pressure.
No, she wasn't. Come on.
Yes.
Come on.
Typical Leafs fan finding any excuse to just be like, oh, no, it's not the same. Tampa.
Okay.
No, she was under more.
I'm agreeing with Ryan because
of course you are.
She had the scraps. She had the guys that we didn't want.
Come on. How many players were in the tournament? 101.
She had to pick first.
No, I know.
She would have taken Rahm. She would have. Yeah, and you know who else she would have taken? She would have taken Phil Mickelson. Because she loves
God.
Well, then why didn't she pick Phil Mickelson? She didn't pick him. She had a choice to. Anyway, that's fine. Congrats, Chuggy. No question. She won the Masters.
She won and had to take the table scraps and made some damn fine picks. Chuggy wins. Okay,
so let me ask you this. Let's get to the tournament though.
Go ahead.
And we won't keep Ian long, but how do you turn around a 4-putt on the very first hole of the Masters?
My God.
And turn it around and win. That's incredible in my mind. When I 4-putt the first hole, which is quite often, I shoot 110.
You know what? I was impressed with it, especially because of who it was. We have talked on the previous show about how Rahm can lose his cool in a heartbeat. Mm-hmm. And if that was ever going to happen, that was the spot. I mean, I when it happened, I kind of expected the head to be over there and him, make double on the next hole as well.
Yeah.
But he kept himself calm. He kept himself focused. The one thing that I will say, and I've had this happen with myself when you're playing well, when you know your game is good and you're in a good spot, that stuff doesn't bother you. It's like water off the back of a duck, like it just goes away because you know you're playing well and you know you're in a good spot and you know that you're going to make enough birdies to fight back from that. And
he did.
You know, that's kind of where he was at. And you know what? He played the par fives extremely well all week long, right? Like, you know, kudos to him. And I mean, right now he's the best player in the world.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah, he is. And I mean, you know, when you kind of look at it too, almost like, thank God it was the first hole. Like if anything's going to roll off your back when you're feeling confident, it's like, hey, bad start. It's literally the very beginning. I'm going to go out and dominate the next hole. And he did. And he continued to do that as he chased down Brooks Koepka, who had a very good showing. He fell apart on Sunday, but still impressive. And I mean, Phil Mickelson up there too, like the LIV guys, you know, they had a pretty good showing at the upper echelon of the scorecard, which was positive for them as well.
Are you surprised at that, Ian? Sorry. I just wanted to ask about the LIV guys.
At how well they played?
No, not really. I mean, if you look at the pedigree of who it was, I mean, Phil's won there 3 times. Koepka's got 4 majors under his belt. You know, he's contended there in the past, finished second. So no, and Patrick Reed's won there before. So it doesn't surprise me one bit. I mean, you know, there's that old saying, courses for horses and so on. And those guys like that place. I was surprised that Koepka didn't play better on Sunday. That surprised me a little bit.
Yeah, we're used to seeing him close.
Yeah, typically when he's in that position, he closes it hard and just slams it, like he wants to step on your throat when he gets you in that position, and it just disappeared for him on this Sunday for some reason. But you know, I think in the big picture of it all, the way the players were treated there, the way the players treated each other there from the different tours, I think this bodes well for down the road. I mean, I think that we'll eventually see everything come together and you know, this is going to be an amicable relationship eventually. They just got to get through the crap that's going on right now, but I think it's going to be fine. I love it, and I can hardly wait till the US Open now, because they all get to play in the US Open, right? And what people don't understand is the Masters, US Open, the Open Championship in Britain, and the PGA are self-entities. They're not run by the PGA Tour.
That's right.
They're run by their own little groups. So that's why there isn't any animosity with the LIV Tour. They're allowing them to play. I saw something on social media this week, and I thought it was very to the point. You know, they talk about world ranking points. Well, world ranking points right now are it's how guys get into tournaments and everything. But honestly, they don't work, because you've got 18 players playing on another tour that aren't getting any points. So how can you say that, you know, Rory is the 3rd best player in the world when he hasn't had to play against Koepka and Phil and Reed and all these guys for the last 13, 14 months, right? So I think what the LIV Tour would have to do, I think it's pretty simple. Go to 72 holes. The minute they go to 72 holes and a cut, they get world ranking points, because the people, the bodies behind golf wouldn't have an argument to say they don't deserve the world ranking points. And I think that would fix a lot of things.
Yeah, I completely agree. Doig, I want to ask you this lastly as well. You know, we talk about a conundrum there where they're still going to have to iron some things out between the two entities for sure. Here's a conundrum for you. Major League Baseball instituted a pitch clock this year. Do we need a Patrick Cantlay clock? Because this dude is getting destroyed on social media after that performance at the Masters. And he played pretty okay at times, but the guy is, oh my God, it's like molasses. This guy is taking way too long to get around a golf track, man. Like, what is this guy's deal? Like, he might be the most unpopular player on tour right now.
Yeah, he was pretty slow this past week, especially. I noticed that. But what frustrates me about it is this. I don't know what year it was. It was probably around 2017 or 18, the young Chinese kid, Guan Long or whatever his name was penalized by the Masters Committee for slow play. So only time that I know of in the history of the Masters that somebody's been penalized for slow play, it was a 15-year-old Chinese kid, right? So that I don't understand. But what it really gets me is, now, yes, it's a different entity, but they do play by the same rules as the PGA Tour, essentially. And we actually do have a shot clock. Okay? So when you're the first player to hit on a hole, you have 1 minute from the time you arrive on the tee deck or arrive to where your ball is out in the fairway. You have 1 minute. The other two players in the group have 45 seconds, right? So that's supposed to speed it up. But a few weeks ago, I timed somebody, the kid that Kitayama, when he won at Doral, it took him 3 minutes and 56 seconds to hit his second to last shot in the tournament. Because I timed it. And I'm like, okay, we have a clock. Why is he not being penalized?
Yeah.
And it used to be, on top of that, it used to be the penalty was a penalty stroke or 2 penalty strokes. Well, now it's a fine. So they look at it and they go, you know what? They're going to fine me $2,000 or $5,000 or $10,000.
Yeah.
But if I take a little bit longer, I'm going to make $4.8 million. So what do I care?
Exactly.
Right? So they take as much time as they want. The only way they're going to fix slow play, there's a couple of ways, but is to start putting the guys on the clock, timing them, and then penalizing them. Because if I'm coming down the stretch and I'm playing slow, and the official comes over to me and says, Ian, you've got 2 bad times on you. If you have one more bad time, I'm going to hit you with a 2-stroke penalty. That might cost me $2 million. You know what? I'm going to speed up.
Exactly.
If he says to me, we're going to fine you $5,000, but I'm going to chance to win $4 million, what do I care?
It's all the players. A lot of times it's all in their heads too. Remember Sergio with the little yip before he was hitting an iron shot there, or maybe it was every shot, but he went on and on. Like they think they counted once. He went over 20 times.
I think it was 26 times he regripped the club.
Yeah, right? It's like, come on, hit the ball.
But every week when we register in that in the player package, there is a time card of how long the golf course is supposed to take to play.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's always in the 4 hour and 15-minute range. But they're taking 5 hours to play. They went 45 minutes over their air time on Sunday. Like they were supposed to be off the air, right? Yeah. So now the other thing, and Jack Nicklaus brought this up recently, is, you know what? When the PGA Tour 30 and 40 years ago started this time thing and everything, golf courses were 6,600 to 6,800 yards long. Well, now they're 7,500 yards long. It's going to take longer to play it. It's going to take longer to walk it, right? Because it's long. But now you're playing it, so it is going to take a little longer to play it as well.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't take that long. I've told this story many, many times over the years. Quite a few years ago, it would have been in the early 2000s, probably. But I played a Canadian Tour event, and it took us 5.5 hours to play the first round. I was beside myself. I was like, what are we doing here? The next week I played on what was then the Nike or the web.com tour, and we played in 5 hours. So a little faster, but still pretty slow. And 2 weeks later, I was playing in Europe. I was in the last group off on Thursday afternoon, and we played in 3 hours and 46 minutes.
Why?
Because slow play is a North American thing. It doesn't happen over there. If you go over to Scotland and you're playing at Muirfield or St. Andrews just as a group of guys, if you fall more than one hole behind the group in front of you, back, they come out and they pick your golf balls up and drive you to the next hole so that you catch up. You don't get to play the whole golf course.
Good.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So people learn how to play quickly.
Yeah.
Slow play is a North American thing.
We had some painfully slow players ahead of us when we were in Dominican. There was like 4 holes ahead of the people in front of us. And it's just the worst feeling, getting up to your ball every time and having to wait 4 minutes to hit it. It's awful. Yeah. 4 minutes or longer. Anyway, drives me crazy. So you're down in Florida. Let's talk a little Leafs, because the Leafs had a little trip down there. Now, I was watching your Facebook because I thought maybe you maybe you were going to comment on the Lightning play, saying something like, where's Point? Where's Hedman? Where's Stamkos? They just played a team without Matthews and Marner and their third string goalie, and they still can't win. I was waiting for something like that.
The Lightning did not look very good at all.
Well, I think the Leafs look good. I mean, they did outshoot them, but hey,
yeah,
you know what?
I went to the Panthers game and they got out in that game as well. But what I did notice was the Leafs were collapsing very well. Even though there was a lot of shots, they blocked a lot of shots too. That game could have went either way.
They did block a lot of shots, yeah.
Yeah, they did. They blocked a lot of shots.
And McCabe, I think last game played the last 3.5 minutes and blocked shot after shot after shot. I think this team's ready. We're going to start next week. I don't think they've made a day yet, either Monday or Tuesday. I'm hoping it's Tuesday, but I think they're ready.
Tuesday.
Yeah. I think they're ready, Doigie. Get ready.
We get the Lightning, so that's a positive, right? So
yeah. I
would have hate to have had to play the Rangers or Boston or Carolina in the first round. I mean, that would have been a nightmare, in my opinion. So I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll make it up to a game or not. The tickets are pretty pricey.
I was thinking of flying down. Like, can you just watch ticket prices and let me know? Because I'll come down. It'll be cheaper for me to get a flight down there to go to the Leaf game here.
The guys that sat beside us over at the Panthers game the other day, he's flown down twice in the last time they were down here. And he said, I can't get tickets in Toronto, and I jump in a plane and fly down here and watch them down here all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
because they may play Saturday afternoon. Who knows? Probably not.
Yeah, the tickets that we bought at the Panthers game, excellent seats. I think they were $61 each.
Yeah,
right. In Toronto, they would have been $400.
Oh, for sure. But that's the supply and demand. That's all it is.
Yeah,
I guess.
Anyway, we're ready. We're ready to go. Different
reality.
Okay, I like it.
I'll say this, and I've been saying it the last couple of years. I don't care who they play, like whether the Rangers, are they a scary team? Sure they are. Carolina looking less so. They've had a bumpy last month. Their best goal scorer is out for the year. Still a good team. Like, I just don't care anymore. And I'm not even a fan of the team.
There's no question. They got to perform, no doubt.
Eventually the Leafs are not in a position anymore based on the core of players they have, the money that's been spent, and the acquisitions that have been made, particularly this year. They're not in a position anymore to go, oh, this is a bad matchup. No. You should be able.
I agree with you, Ryan, anybody. But I will say, and I know you're
enough's enough.
Playing me up for it, but they shouldn't be playing Boston in the second round. This could be the third, fourth place team in the league, and they shouldn't get the first place team in the second round.
I'm not going to dispute.
That shouldn't happen. Yeah. And Boston's having a career, like an unbelievable season. They are.
I know.
But when you look at the Leafs roster from last year, Colin Blackwell, Wayne Simmons. This is game one of the playoffs. Okay, game one of the playoffs last year. Colin Blackwell, Wayne Simmons, Kasha, Kyle Clifford, Pierre Engvall, Ilya Mikheyev, Labushkin on defense, Jack Campbell in net. This team's a lot better. This team's a lot better.
That's what I'm saying. I would say that Mikheyev would be about the only guy out of that group you just ran off that like maybe you'd like to have back.
Yeah,
outside of that, I don't think that I'd want any of those guys on the current roster.
No,
and
I would agree.
I'm just tired of it. Like the excuses.
Okay, we're not talking about excuses. We're going into this playoff. And
I hope we are in a week's time.
Yeah, you know what?
A week and a half
has surprised me, and it wouldn't bother me one bit if they started Joseph Woll in that.
No, they won't. Not a chance. No.
He's played great.
He has played great, but there's no way, unless Samsonov's hurt, he's not getting.
Well, that's what I'm saying, right? But it wouldn't bother me. Like, I'm not going to panic.
It wouldn't bother me either, but there's no way if they're both healthy.
The backup that they had the other night in Tampa to back up Woll, he was 8. He has a novice game tonight.
Matt Onushka, he's a good kid. I know Matt.
I get he's a good kid, but he looks like he's 8 years old.
That's okay.
I know.
Anyway,
Windsor Spitfires goaltender.
There, I thought, shit.
Okay, we got
to go home for a novice game tomorrow.
Now, by next week, we're going to have the playoffs will have started. So I know I'm putting you guys on the spot. We just quickly need a Leaf round 1 prediction. Doigie?
Leafs in 6.
Drury?
Yeah, Leafs in 6.
I'm going Leafs in 5. Write it down, Adam, producer Adam. We'll relive it. There we go.
There you go.
Later.
There we go.
Because again, if they don't do it, like I just, of all years, and I said it last year and I might have said it the year before, like a round, like that's not a lot to ask based on what I see here.
For sure it's not. Absolutely.
Like,
I totally agree with you, man. They
gotta put a run together here, man.
Yeah, like, they do. No question. No question. Let's talk about it as it goes.
I hope it happens. Doigie,
so just enjoy. So you know, she was out of the room. She was out of the room before, but I think what you should do is say congratulations to Chuggy for winning.
Please?
School.
Congratulations on your asterisk win.
No, don't do that. Don't do that, Clarkey. Congratulations, Chuggy.
You won with the leftovers.
Yeah, no pressure picks. I'm calling them.
But no pressure picks. Clarkey's trying to go back to the money winnings now.
No.
It's the right way to do it, but he didn't choose it.
That's right.
You won fair and square. That's the way it goes. Chuggy is the Masters champion.
Thanks, Doigie.
There it is.
Go get some.
I appreciate this.
Thanks, guys.
Oh, hold on. Show us your view. Show us your view here.
Yeah, show us the view that you got.
Yeah. What golf course is this?
The sun's not quite as bright right now, so you might see it. So that's the ninth green. That's the ninth green down there.
What golf course?
West Bay Golf and Country Club in Estero, Florida.
Wow.
And that's the ocean over there.
And now, are there gators in that pond at the bottom?
Yes, there is. Actually, in this particular pond, there's a very big gator in this particular pond. There you go.
So you don't go looking for your golf ball.
No, you don't even...
I mean, not that you put it in a red
one
anyway. But
yeah, even if it's a red one, you don't go
They don't like the red ones. You're fine with those.
No, it's there's a big one in this pond, and then there's a really big one, which is just over here on the 10th tee pond. He's massive. He's got to be at least 10 feet long.
Wow. I played in Florida only once, and it was with Tom Cheek, the Blue Jay announcer, late great Tom. And I hit a ball in the pond, no big deal. And I start walking over to it, and he goes, don't go get that. And I go, why? It just rolled in. He goes, see that sign there? There's a lot of those gators around. And I'm like, okay, yeah, no problem. Dropping back here.
Moving on.
Yeah, moving on.
Yeah. So, unreal. Doigie,
if you don't know, you don't know, right?
What's that, Ryan?
I was just saying, if you don't know, you don't know.
Yeah,
like you got to have some
you learned
knowledge. Yeah, you learned.
Thankfully, you didn't learn through experience.
Exactly.
Right? So
exactly. Anyway,
Clarkey's chubs over here with one mitt because he didn't listen. Unbelievable. Doigie, we appreciate your time as always. Enjoy your breakfast with Jack. That's going to be incredible. Send us the pictures. Yeah. Thanks for doing this, my friend.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate always being invited on, and I look forward to the next time. Go Leafs, go.
Absolutely, my friend. We'll be right back. We're going to wrap things up here on Instigating next. Back to wrap things up here on Instigating with Clarkey and Drury. Thanks again to our good friends Chris Pope of the Kitchener Rangers City 570 broadcast for joining us, and of course our buddy Ian Doig for recapping our Masters picks. Congrats, Chuggy. She won fair and square, Clarkey. Let's talk a little bit about our great friends over at Larry Hudson Chevrolet Buick GMC. You had an interesting sale.
Oh,
recently.
Yes, I did. Yes. Someone you might know, Adam, producer Adam. We have a nice photograph to show you, Ryan. Do you recognize these fine people?
Yeah, I recognize those fine people. That's my grandpa Bill, and obviously my grandma Ruthina, my beautiful grandma there, with a nice new car that you hooked them up with.
Nice new Malibu. Bill was thrilled. He looked great in it. It's a beautiful car. So congratulations to them. They knew they were gonna be watching the show tonight. So I promised them that we would show this picture. He thought it might be on the front of the Toronto Sun, but I said, well, next best is a front.
I don't have that kind of pull yet. Like,
exactly. But isn't that a great photo?
There you go. That's a pretty darn good one as far as car sale photos go.
And what a great guy. I'm telling you, the energy. It's just you would obviously know Ryan, but it was fun to deal with them, and it was great to get to know them a little bit.
For a guy who's pretty well kissing 90, my grandpa's got plenty of energy left. And grandma does too. So
no question.
They are in great shape. I'm lucky to say, like they're
Oh, no
and
question.
I'm sure they're thrilled. I'm going to get a full tour of the car.
Yeah,
probably
it's
this
good.
weekend.
It's a nice one.
Yes,
it's nice.
It's a nice one. He's very excited,
and it is truck month. Yeah, I couldn't get him to buy a truck, but it is truck month still.
He's not really a truck guy. Yeah.
No, and it's 149.
But if you
financing. 1.49 financing on the 22. Still have a couple left in stock. So come on down. If you have a sales rep, ask for him. If not, you can ask for Clarkey as Grandpa Bill did. So we can go from there. It's all good.
There you go. Our friends at Larry Hudson's. Hudson's has it. Remember that. They will hook you up 1000 Wallace Avenue here in Listowel. And our great friends over at the Listowel Squash Courts.
Big week.
Having a big event next Friday. That's April 21st,
big
7 p.m. It's the finals of the women's and men's squash league tournaments. After the finals, it's open to the public. You can come watch some great local competition. There's going to be a social after the tournaments are over where you can gather around, have some refreshments, meet Al, talk to some other players. If you're thinking about maybe getting interested, playing, getting signed up, it's very simple. Al could probably sign you up right there that night. Sign up for lessons. Al would be happy to teach you. It's going to be great. Al, we wanted to have him on the show this week. He's busy giving lessons. So there you go. He's a great dude.
And Ryan,
awesome facility. Go next Friday if you're in the area looking for something to do.
Up on Rocker Road there in Listowel.
There you go. Yes, sir.
And just so you know, I'm still in it.
I know you are. He sent me a photo of the
still
standings. I get it.
I'm still in it. I'm still alive.
I wish you luck on the ladder, sir.
I won my first match, lost my second to Mike Benjamin's. I took it on the chin to Mike. We usually have better games. I think I usually play better against him, but I had a bad game. He probably made me have a bad game because he had a good game. You know what I mean?
Sure, yeah, I know.
Well, no, it's just I don't want to diminish his win by saying I had a bad game, because most of the time when you have a bad game, it's because the other guy's playing really well and you just don't have a chance. So he beat me.
That's generally how it goes.
Still alive.
Yeah.
It's double knockout. I'm still alive, and I'm trying to. I might play Mike again. That's my goal right now, is to play Mike again on the loser side. I'm not saying he's going to lose a game, but the guy in the top is head and shoulders above everyone else in my mind. So not Jacob. Jacob couldn't make it, so it's Josh. So Josh is at the top. So it's going to be fun. Going to be a fun week.
You can maybe see Clarkey compete.
Maybe
and see some great action. Next Friday, April 21st, 7 p.m., men's and women's tournament finals at the Listowel Squash Courts. Social hour afterwards. Get yourself signed up. Unbelievable facility. 24-hour access. It's fantastic. That's it from us here. Thanks to Chris Pope and Ian Doig. Clarkey, good luck to your Maple Leafs starting next week.
Leafs in 5.
If they can finally put it together. Thanks for watching Instigating. You can watch us Friday nights at 8, Sunday nights at 9 with our friends on Whiteman TV. Channel 6 for Whiteman subscribers. We debut on our YouTube channel every Friday at 9 p.m. Follow us on social media at Instigating Pod. Been another fun week here on the show. Thanks again to producer Adam. We will be back next week with more Instigating. Stay tuned.